We are trying to find the definite integral of, let me zoom in, of pi divided by 2. So pi for sine minus cos x. Okay, and all of this is for dx. Now, this looks kind of challenging. There's sines, there's coses, there's pi's. It's all getting a little confusing. So to make this a bit easier, what we can do is split this up because it's an integral and it's linear. So there's this fancy thing we can do is we can remove that brackets around there, right? And then we can just apply it to each individual trig term. And that minus sign can be brought out the front. And now this looks a lot easier. Okay, so this is a lot easier. Let's start there. So now we've got to figure out how to integrate sine. Okay, so that's what gets a little bit tricky. But remember when we differentiate sine, it becomes cos, and when we differentiate cos, it becomes sine. So the easiest way is just to flip that. Now the difficult thing is to remember if there's a minus sign out the front or not at all. So normally when you differentiate cos and it becomes sine, differentiate cos, it becomes sine, which is sinning and bad, and that gets a negative sign. Okay, so if you were to differentiate cos, that would be equal to minus sine because it's sinning. That's the way you can remember it. But in this case, we don't have a negative sign now, so we're going to need to put one there. Okay, the next thing we can do is the same thing here. So that minus, and now cos becomes sine, and it doesn't need a negative. So I always remember the differentiating version of it. If you differentiate sine and it becomes a cos, it's all good. But if you differentiate cos to bring it back up to a sine, you have to have a negative sign at the front. As you see, it doesn't have one there, and that's why there's a negative sign there. So that's a little bit confusing. I'm going to make this a little bit easier by putting a big square bracket around it, and that will go from pi divided by 2 all the way to pi. So remember, it's the top minus the bottom, okay? And we're just going to put each of them in there and then separate them by a negative sign. So let's go ahead and do it. It becomes cos by pi minus sine by pi. And then now stick a negative sign there and stick in that pi divided by 2 for each of these. Okay, and that will become like this. As you can see, it's just a lot of writing. Now, this is testing how good we are at exact radians. Okay, so let's draw a unit circle, otherwise it's going to get confusing. These things are broken up into 90 degrees, which makes life a lot easier. So I'll push this here on the side. So you've got to crawl before you can climb. So cos is all about the x-axis here, and sine is touch the sky. Okay, so it's all about this y-axis here. Now if we go pi degrees around, or pi radians around, that brings us all the way around here. Okay, we're asking ourselves, what's that point there? Well, that is point -1, and it's 0 high. So that means that the cos value, right? The cos value of 180 degrees, or pi, is equal to -1. And the sine value of 180 degrees, or pi, is equal to 0, as you can see, right? And so we can substitute those values in here. So let's do that now. So cos -1 is equal to -1. Sine of pi is equal to 0. That makes it easier. Okay, I want to keep the square brackets around there just because I always forget about the negatives. But now let's do the same thing over here, but now with 90 degrees, or pi divided by 2. Okay, let's draw our unit circle. And remember, crawling gives us the x-axis, and then touching the sky gives us the y-axis. So this time we're going 90 degrees around, okay? And that gives us point 0 and 1. So that is saying if we get sine of pi divided by 2, that's 90 degrees. It's saying that's 1 up, right? That's a unit circle. It's got a radius of 1. That's 1 up. Now if we go cos of 90 degrees, or pi on 2, that's equal to 0 because we haven't moved anywhere. The shadow is not there. So now we can substitute those values in there. Okay. Now, to be honest, these exact values should be on your cheat sheets or note sheet. Otherwise, it's going to get really difficult. So I'd recommend putting them on there. Now that we've done that, it's a lot easier. Let us take away the brackets and just multiply everything out. So minus times a minus, that creates the plus, because there's those two lines there. They join forces to create a plus, and we're left with 1. Don't worry about the 0. Don't worry about the 0, we can just cancel that out, and then minus 1. So that will be 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. And that is our final answer. So a lot of this is just testing your knowledge on the confusion between differentiating and integrating trig functions. And the easiest way is just remember it's always going to be like sine to cos or cos to sine. Just remember the negative sign is when you differentiate cos and it goes to sine, and it sins, it's bad. If you remember that and then bring it back up to the top, it can help you remember. And the other one is drawing the unit circle, especially for values such as like pi 180 degrees or pi divided by 2 90 degrees. So if you've got any questions, I'd love for you to leave some comments, let me know. Really like to help out.